section, I am Vivian Sweet. Our quote for today's program says leaders instill in their people a hope for success and a belief in themselves. Positive leaders empower people to accomplish their goals. Coming up in today's program of the Podium, a women's shadow parliament has been launched. A visiting team of the Africa Philosophical Findings is in the country. Stakeholders in the entertainment sector discuss the development and growth of entertainment in Sierra Leone. And 50 young Sierra Leoneans are to participate in this year's International Youth Diplomacy Conference. These issues and more coming up in the program. You can be a part of it by way of simply sending us a text message containing your questions and comments. Send to the number 088-373-504. Again, that's 088-373-504. Stay with us for the next hour and keep the conversation flowing. It's the Podium. I'm Vivian Sweet. Welcome back. This is the Podium on SLBC. Starting the program this afternoon, the Women Shadow Parliament Sierra Leone, supported by the United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women, have officially launched the Women's Shadow Parliament. To discuss more about that, in the studio, I have former Honorable Member of Parliament of Moyamba West 1, Honorable Emma Simbo Fraser, Vice President of Women Shadow Parliament. Good afternoon, ma'am. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, give us a brief background of the formation of this Women's Shadow Parliament.
There have been shadow parliaments in other countries. You've had youth shadow parliaments, and in Kenya there is a women's shadow parliament. And the UN Women initiated this move, that it was necessary, with the emphasis being put on women's emancipation and women's empowerment in all the manifestos of the presidential candidates, and particularly the president.
What is this parliament, what does the parliament aim to achieve? Basically, aims and objectives of the parliament in Sierra Leone particularly.
We are hoping and we intend to bring on board former members of parliament, former aspirants to parliament, former aspirants for presidential positions, and the aim is to bring along women who would understand their position in development and in policy making, and in a way groom women who would otherwise not participate in politics. We want to mainstream gender issues. We want to make women know that from all walks of life that they can be empowered to participate in national politics. We are grooming women so that they would take over and become ministers, members of parliament, parastatal heads. And
when you say women, basically it sounds like all women in the country, am I correct?
It is.
And you said you're bringing on board former. So how do you bring on board former women to target all the other women in the country? How do you go about engaging them to get all the women on board?
We are publicizing Women's Shadow Parliament, and at the launching this morning, I was pleased to see hundreds of women. In fact, the women outnumbered the men at the inauguration. And we intend to publicize this. Presently, as I say, we have 60 members, and this is only over a period of about 5 weeks. And we hope that we will be able to have more women from all sectors of life, from all the districts, all the regions, who will become members for as long as you have aspired to a position in this country. You are eligible to be a member of Women's Shadow Parliament.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Continue to stay with us. We'll continue with that shortly. Still in the program this afternoon, The Africa Philosophical Findings will be having a 4-day symposium on the theme Do not Tribalism, Just Sierra Leone's. The organization has hosted similar programs in other countries in Africa. For more on their engagements and activities, in the studio from the IEO Africa Philosophical Findings, I have Tony Michael Howard. Good afternoon, Tony. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Tell us a bit more about the IEO Africa Philosophical Findings.
It's actually a PFI Africa Philosophical Findings. That's a foundation that I set up some 3 years back with the aim of revitalizing Africanization policy that was agitated by the late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana and Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere of Tanzania, not forgetting the late president of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie. I want to make sure that Africans can get to understand themselves, relate harmoniously, irrespective of the different backgrounds that they come from.
And your engagement in Sierra Leone, you're saying the theme goes, do not tribalize, just Sierra Leoneize.
Yeah.
Why the aspect of tribalism?
Okay, thank you very much. We've done a close survey in almost all of the African countries. And we strongly believe that one of the key problems that African countries face, almost in general, is the issue of tribalism.
And that's unique. That's also a problem in Sierra Leone, based on your findings?
To some considerable extent, okay, with respect to the two popular tribes here, the Timinis and the Mendes. So we strongly believe that with the current leadership of Julius Maada, Sierra Leoneans must try to come to an understanding that it's not about the tribal destruction that one comes from, but the political ideology he or she brings on the table.
So again, what ignited or inspired this move on the theme for Sierra Leone, do not tribalize but Sierra Leoneize, when Sierra Leone, unlike countries like Rwanda, have never experienced a genocide? There has never been a tribal war in Sierra Leone.
We don't need to wait until things get wrong before we visit countries.
So based on your findings, do you feel Sierra Leone is on that verge?
Not on that verge particularly, but to some extent, which there is something to say that a chick that will grow into a cock can be known at the very day it hatches. Like I said, the two major tribes has had an element of friction between themselves, you understand that. Even when it comes to the two tribes, which one is more populated than the other, that has been a huge conflictual arrangement. So we strongly believe that any country that's been relatively calm, it's important that we still get there to exert more energy to the people, talk to the people of that country to make sure that they continue to exercise the ghost of tribalism in an effort for the achievement of national development objectives.
Where is this concern coming from? The general activities of Sierra Leone, or based on the just concluded general elections?
Not just the just concluded elections in this country. When you look at the politics of this country, it has been understood that the Mendes tribe has never held key position with respect to the presidency for quite a length of time. So right now we stayed outside and we follow stories that go on here. You work with the media authority here. Sierra Leoneans are outside. I have worked with Sierra Leoneans in different countries. And the message, the wrong message that has been translated out there is that, okay, Mendy can never become the president of the country.
Sorry again, just to clarify, where did you get your information from, that federal statistic?
That's I follow stories. When you look at previous years, especially in the Kenema area, like with respect to the Gone elections here, there was this friction between some of the Mendy tribal members and other tribal authorities as well. And when you look also in African politics, we're not only looking at a contest specifically with Sierra Leone. This is a crusade for all of Africa.
Again, modifying it back to Sierra Leone's context.
Yeah.
Based on your research, what do you feel majorly Sierra Leone's problem? Is it, as you say, tribe between the between Mendes and Timinis, or basic politics between APC and SLPP? What's the line between the politics and the tribe? Very good.
Let me give you the key factors that bring in the Africa Philosophical Finance in this country with this strong team here. Like I said, this is a crusade for all of Africa. So even countries that have experienced and continue to experience peace and stability, they are not exempted from this message. All we're trying to do is to move around, move in various countries, even those ones that have almost 90 to 100% free from tribal lines. It is still important that we keep pushing the message so that they do not step there, because the falling of dried leaves are warning to the new ones that one day they will fall too. So if we have a Sierra Leone that have not been tribally attached, it is only very important that we still come there to remind the people of the need to maintain the peace and stability. not
Tony,
tomorrow.
continue to stay with us. This is the Podium. I'll be talking to you right back shortly. Still in the program this afternoon, the International Youth Diplomacy Conference, scheduled to take place in Accra, Ghana this year, is a model of the United Nations Conference organized by Innovation for Empowerment and Development, IFED Global, annually. At IYDC, young people simulate, role play the United Nations General Assembly system, committees, agencies, and organizations of the United Nations. 50 young Sierra Leoneans will be attending this year's conference in Accra, Ghana from 17th to 21st July 2018. Brian Sitakago is the Vice President for this year's conference, and he is in the studio to tell us more. Good afternoon, Brian, Ambassador Brian. Thanks for joining us in the program.
Thank you so much, Lydia.
Brian, give us a brief background of the International Youth Diplomacy Conference.
IYDC is a concept of the IFED, Innovation for Empowerment and Development. This program has been going on in Ghana for the past 3 years and more. And so this year is also a continuation of the same program. Many years we've been getting people from other countries who will be going to the program. But this year we've enlarged our scope to the point that we are now taking people from over 40 countries around the world. And particularly in Africa, we'll be considering 35 countries and 1,000 delegates will be going. And this year we'll be getting 50 people from Sierra Leone who will be going to the program.
Again, what's the program meant for?
The program is a model United Nations program. MUN, as it is known. MUN is a program that is organized in different countries around the world. It is a program.
What aims and objectives?
It is certified by the United Nations. It is to train young people who don't know about UN practices and systems to understand what UN does. It also gives them an education about the system of United Nations and expose them to network between themselves and people coming from their countries and other people coming from other countries. So that's how it is. It has been always. The biggest MUN is the Youth Assembly that takes place in America yearly.
So the young people from Sierra Leone that would be attending this year's conference, what's the criteria for selection for attendance?
When in July last year, we opened an application portal where people will go in and apply to be part of the program. And people from Sierra Leone also applied to be part of the program. When they did, part of the eligibility criteria, you must be a young person. You must be a young person. You must have contributed to your country in some ways. You must either be a current student or somebody who is in the working class. So we have looked at all of those and we've come to the conclusion that a certain amount of people, 50 people, will be going to represent the country, and they've passed through all of those eligibility criteria.
What are they going to be trained to become, basically? Is it a stepping stone to stepping into politics or other affairs?
It is for them to understand about international affairs, for them to know about what UN does, to understand, to teach them. For example, this year our team will be...
Because understanding what UN does is one thing, but how does that impact on Sierra Leone as a country? What does the country stand to gain if these young people go and get a knowledge of how UN operates? Something basically that you get to know online. You just go search and you know how UN operates.
Yeah, MUN, when people go to MUN, they role play. They simulate what the activities of the United Nations. This year, our theme will be entrepreneurship and innovation, so curb youth unemployment. We know one thing in Africa currently, where people go into what is called temple run. That's because their countries do not provide enabling environment for youth employment. So when you go there, we provide you with speakers, we provide you with people who are rich in their own background, in their own field, to go there to speak to you, for you to understand that countries, different countries, and specific countries should create an enabling environment for their people, for their young people to thrive through innovation, through entrepreneurship. And one thing again I want the people of Sierra Leone to know is, when you go to Moon, like for example this year Moon, will have an aspect of entrepreneurship where young people who go there will pitch a business idea. and we'll bring on board investors from around Africa, rich people. For example, we have Strive Masiviwa. Not many people know about him, but he's a rich man. He'll be there. He'll listen to the pitching, the business pitching of the young people, and they will be investing in some of the things that the young people do. And again, when you go to Moon, like I mentioned, you get to network with people. One thing I remember some time ago, I posited for a university degree. I said international affairs, diplomacy is a path to ensuring that the country gets to develop. One thing, when
again, as you say, country gets to develop. With the young people that would be attending this conference representing Sierra Leone, what is expected of them? Because 50 people representing the youths of the country, that's quite an imbalance compared to the population of young people in Sierra Leone. How does what they get reflect in the lives of other young people in the country?
they get education, they get exposure, they get an understanding, they get a knowledge on international affairs. They get
and how
to meet,
does that reflect in the lives of other young people?
Yeah, they get to meet other people who are change makers in their own countries. They interface, they network, they understand what they're doing, they learn, so that when they come back to their own country, they can create similar things. For example,
and so who is going to monitor that to ensure that those who represented every country come back to pass on the knowledge to other young people? Who monitors that?
That's why our organization, we have people in more than 30 countries who are called country representatives. Next year, July, I'm proud to tell the people of Sierra Leone that we'll be organizing the IYDC in Sierra Leone. That's also a platform to sell the ideas of, to sell the image of Sierra Leone. We want to do what is called image laundering.
Again,
many
sorry,
people
Brian,
have a bad perception of Sierra Leone.
We'll come shortly to look at next year's hosting, Sierra Leone hosting next year's conference. But back to this year's conference, year in, year out, there are conferences of similar nature all around the world where young people in Sierra Leone go to represent the country. But when they come back, not much is known about what they gathered from the conference or events they represented Sierra Leone in. Most young people don't get to benefit from the knowledge or whatever opportunity they got. How is this International Youth Diplomacy Conference a difference?
That's why I mentioned that when we come back to Sierra Leone, we will organize the same program here so that people will know what these young people went for, the knowledge they gained, and how they can be able to impact other people when they come to them.
Thank you very much, Brian. We'll continue on that note shortly. The Podium on SLBC. Entertainment is a viable business sector world over. In Africa, countries like Nigeria, Ghana, and South Africa and others, entertainment is contributing to their GDP. But in Sierra Leone, that is not the case. For the first time in Sierra Leone, stakeholders in the entertainment sector converged at the Miata Conference Hall for the first annual National Stakeholders Consultative Conference to discuss issues relating to the development and growth of entertainment in Sierra Leone. Alhaji K. Tagawali, who's also a TV presenter, is a member of the Pioneering and Organizing Committee, and he's in the studio with us to tell us more about the outcome of the conference. Good afternoon, Alhaji K. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, good afternoon, Phoebe.
Now, entertainment stakeholders converged. Give us a reportage of what happened during the conference on Saturday.
Yes, thank you.
What were the issues discussed?
Yeah, thank you very much. On Saturday, the 23rd of June, was an historic moment for the entertainment industry in Sierra Leone, and we've seen over 500 entertainers from all sectors or facets of the entertainment industry coming together to elaborate and discuss on issues affecting the entertainment industry in Sierra Leone. That was very historic, you know. I was standing by one veteran entertainer. He's a producer by the name of Fad. He said, "What you guys have done today is very historic. I've not seen certain individuals for the past 10 to 15 years."
Yes, with the historic nature of the conference, what were some of the highlights of the day?
Well, one of the major highlights of the day is the statement by the Minister of Tourism and Cultural Affairs, Madam Memunatu Pratt. You know, she actually elaborated on issues that has to do with the creation of the commission that has to do with the Arts and Entertainment Commission. You know, then also she
was it agreed that there's going to be an entertainment commission?
Yeah, they're already working on that as a ministry. You know, according to the minister, that is one of our first major priority to see how best she'll be able to establish the commission that has to do with art and culture or the entertainment industry, you know. So that is one of our first priorities she's working on.
We'll try to get the Ministry of Tourism on subsequent editions to talk about how soon that would be done and what are the expectations of the commission. How would the commission or ministry run, because it would be the first of its kind in the country. Back to the event, Lachke. There are issues about entertainment contributing to the GDP of other countries like Nigeria, Ghana, for example, even South Africa and more. Sierra Leone, it doesn't even reflect in the livelihoods of the entertainers, talk less of the country. Were there issues discussed in that conference that might seek to address those, making entertainment economically viable for both entertainers and the country?
Yes, absolutely. The primary objective of we getting this conference, one is to actually urge on the government to provide that legal framework for the entertainment industry, because we cannot succeed as an entertainment industry if we don't have that legal framework protecting us as entertainer. If you look at Nigeria, Ghanaians, they are where they are today because of they have the legal framework and the protection of the government.
What legal framework? Because talking about copyright issues, that at some point was addressed.
Yeah.
There's a Copyright Act. But what more when you talk about legal framework?
The copyright issue was not addressed. In 2011, the APC government only enacted the copyright law, but it was not being implemented ever since. It's like 7 years now.
And where was the error coming from about the implementation?
Well, I can say it's two-way. You know, us as an entertainer, because of not being able to unify ourselves, you know, as a one body to see how best you're able to challenge the governments to implement the copyright law. You know, then secondly, the governments are not also seeing the willingness from us as an entertainer. So they've only been using us during the time of election, come give us $30,000, $50,000 and so on and so forth. So against all of those backdrop, we as entertainers, those of us putting our money in the entertainment industry, we've now seen the need to come together as one.
Alaji, what was the possibility of the government then to solidify laws that would protect or empower entertainers when entertainers themselves in Sierra Leone had a lot of divisions in the entertainment industry?
That is
fact. There's a group fighting another group. There's always issues.
That is fact for sure. And as a government or previous or now government, they've always been wishing for similar things like this. But us as an entertainer, the 23rd was a clear, you know, manifestation that entertainers are ready for change. You know, the fact that we've all come together as one. All the sectors we've been able to classify. One of the good outcome of this conference, we've been able to classify all the sectors of the entertainment industry. Now we have like 12 sectors from the entertainment industry. For the first time, we've seen musicians coming together under one umbrella, sending 3 representation, feature as their key spearing representation. Like we have the All Stars, we have the Sierra Leone Musician Union, we have the Female Musician Union, we have the Eastern Artists Union. The first time they come together, they say, okay, we're going to send one individual to represent us as a musician. That was a big success. Then secondly also, or saying the Sierra Leone Film Council, they've also unified themselves as a body. Now instead of 2 bodies, previously we have the Sierra Leone Film Federation and the Sierra Leone Film Council. Now we have one unified body. It was also manifested on the day of the conference. The DJs also seen a need to see how best all of them will come together as one. So we've been able to identify all the different sectors together. That was a huge success. Then secondly, we also have one data of all entertainers in the country. We have entertainers coming from all 16 districts in Sierra Leone. That was also a very huge success. Another next major step we're working on is to see how best we're able to solidify the unity.
Sorry, Alaji, we'll come back to the plans you're working on. But again, let's go back to, you spoke about copyrights.
Yeah.
Copyrights basically would target issues of what you get from sales of your songs or your movies, things you release. Yeah. But in Nigeria and Ghana and other countries, there are other ways which entertainers use to make money aside from the sales of their productions.
Sure.
Issues of endorsement deals, where they get endorsed by companies and all. Yeah. It's not happening in Sierra Leone. Did you bring out issues of such nature, perhaps in form of recommendations to the Ministry of Tourism as to how those issues will be looked at, perhaps replicating what Nigeria and Ghana and others do to make sure these companies comply, they give endorsement deals?
That is sure, Phoebe and Swill. You know, we cannot succeed on those aspects that has to do with entertainment and the financial aspect if we as an entertainer will not actually put our house together. That is one of the major aspects. So the objective of this conference is to unify the whole entertainment industry, have a steering committee. So far, the whole entertainment industry have unanimously agreed for us to have a one unified body that will represent the interests of the entertainment industry. Interests that will be able to represent those aspects that I've already highlighted. The ministry wants to work with one unified body. Previously, you see film sector going to the ministry, musician going to the ministry, DJ going to the ministry, or meeting government on different aspects, and it's somehow boring, or it's create chaos. So now we want to have a one steering committee that will mediate on behalf of the entertainment industry, working with the Sierra Leone government to implement the copyright law, to also implement the commission that has to do with the entertainment industry, and to also see how we're able to address some of those economic loopholes. We have companies, just like you said, in Nigeria, an endorsement is like nearly $200 million. Peace Squad, the last billboard endorsement in Sierra Leone. You can see banks in Sierra Leone having Nigerians, Ghanaians, they're doing endorsements in our own countries. You can see mobile companies here, they pay like 2 million, 3 million loans just for billboard endorsement. They are using us just because of we are not together as a unified body. So the entertainment conference was a very huge success. You see how best will address all of those issues. That's why I said it's very historic, because it's for the first time we've seen celebrities, musicians, actors from different part of the sectorial of the entertainment industry coming together address those issues. That was a very big. So even the minister was so proud that day. He actually said, "This is not about politics, but I'm proud as a minister. This is happening under my mantle of leadership for the first time."
Thank you very much, Alhaji Tarali. Continue to stay with us. We'll talk to you shortly. And finally, in the program today, the second edition of the Sierra Leone International Nelson Award 2018 is underway in the country, and the organizers have opened nominations for well-deserving Sierra Leoneans who have made an impact to be awarded with the Sierra Leone International Nelson Award 2018. To tell us more about the requirements and benefits of the award, in the studio is National Coordinator Ambassador Charles S. Boy Jr. Good afternoon, Ambassador Charles. I hope I got your title correctly, National Coordinator. If not, please make the correction.
Country Director.
Country Director, I beg your pardon. So, Ambassador Charles, what is the Sierra Leone International Nelson Award all about?
Thank you very much, Vivian. The International Nelson Award is directed at inspiring, recognizing and empowering young change makers who are doing great work in their communities and the country as a whole.
How long have you been organizing this award?
The award was officially launched on the 8th of February 2016, and we encourage young people countrywide in all the 14 districts to apply and send in their initiatives that they are doing in their various communities. And the award itself is inspired by Nelson Mandela saying, "The glory in life lies not in never falling, but rising up anytime you fall."
So is that the base on which Sierra Leoneans get to be awarded? Those who have fallen and have risen up again?
We at Masterpiece, we believe that we have series of many Nelsons in communities, and we think that these people that are doing extremely well in their communities are not recognized by the government, by people that they are serving. And so we thought it fit that going back to the communities, identifying these young people and showcase their talent out to the public will inspire them to do greater things in their communities.
So what's the requirement for nomination or application? Well, basically requirements to be considered a candidate for this Sierra Leone International Nelson Award.
Basically, you need to be a Sierra Leonean. You need to be between the ages of 15 to 35, and you need to be a change maker in your community. That's the criteria that we put. There is no tribal line, no religious.
And what's the benefit of being the Sierra Leone International Nelson Award winner?
For this year, it's going to be a unique event, because what the organizers are doing now is to make sure that we do by region. Now we're going to start with the northern region, and we have the districts in the northern region. They are going to select their own Nelson, and the southern region will do the same, the west will do the same, and the eastern region will do the same. In all these regions, we have prizes for the winners. In the north, the winner will receive a seed money and a certificate, and it cuts across. Then the 4 Nelsons in all those regions will contest for the national Nelson.
So how do you get to represent a region? Is it based on you living there or hailing from that region?
No, you must be someone in the region.
Then how do you get all these people from the various regions to select the one who would be the Sierra Leone International Nelson winner?
What we're going to do is to work with the district councils and the district offices. There will be forms available in these offices. You will come and pick up a form and send in your initiative, and the district office, I mean the mayor, the district council, will have a committee that will look at the applications that come in, and then they will select the best.
Again, to clarify that, is it people going to nominate themselves, or you require someone nominating someone?
You can nominate yourself, or someone nominates you. And then the district council will present to us the representative from the north. And then the south will present their own representative from the south. And it goes around. Then we have our judges who will look at all the 4 nominees countrywide and select the winner for the Sierra Leone.
What's the caliber of your judges who would be deciding?
At the moment, we are still working on the judges, but I can name for you a few of the judges that have consented. Jimmy B will be the chief judge for this year. Last year, 2016, it was Dr. Adonis Sabu. But this year it's going to be Jimmy B, and we have Umaru Fufana. We are still waiting for his consent. We have Mrs. Fatou Kanjasise, and we have Esther Michael, and we have DJ Base, of course. He was part of the last year judge list, but we're still waiting for him to get back to us if he's available for this year. So these are our judges, and we trust those people. And we know the Sierra Leonean populace also trust us names of people.
What's the deadline for application or nomination?
Applications will start on the 10th of July. The official launching of the Nelson will be on the 30th of this month. And then we're going to make sure that around the 10th, all forms must be in all the district's headquarter towns, and then the people that are interested, young people that are interested, can go and get their forms from the offices.
That's from the 10th of July?
Yeah, from the 10th
So
of
what
July.
time does it close?
It's going to be a 2-month process.
That's a long one.
Yeah, because we want to reach out to every Sierra Leonean in all the 14
Are Sierra
districts.
Leoneans living out of Sierra Leone considered?
Definitely, if you are a resident of Sierra Leone.
No, Sierra Leoneans who are living out of Sierra Leone.
Now, if you are not a resident of Sierra Leone, if you are a Sierra Leonean but you are not presently residing here, then you are not eligible. But if you are a resident of Sierra Leone, then you can apply. If only you're going to be here around the 21st of September, when the Grand Award ceremony will take place on the International Day of Peace.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Charles. It's 12:35. You're watching the Podium on the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. It's time to take a break. In the meantime, keep your questions coming through with your opinions in the form of a question or a comment. Send it as a text message to 088-373-504. Stay with us through the break and keep your thoughts coming in. We'll be right back.
and more, including your messages which you can send to 0862735734. Program and support. Every day, Podium brings to you issues that you will not see on other channels. Rely on Podium for the latest news.
And welcome back from that break. This is the Podium on SLBC. We continue with the program. Ambassador Brian, with the Sierra Leoneans that would be attending this year's International Youth Diplomacy Conference, who's footing the bills?
Well, we're expecting support from government, from organizations to help our young people to go to this program. I want to bring one thing to the notice of Sierra Leoneans. Last year, I was part of this program, and the government of Liberia paid the ticket fee for all of the people that represented Liberia. They were 36 in number. And the government chartered a whole plane for all of them. And now we are also seeking the same from the government of Sierra Leone. We've gone to several people. We booked an appointment with the president. We've gone to other respectable people.
Have you engaged the Ministry of Youth Affairs? Because this is basically a youth activity, International Youth Diplomacy Conference. Have you engaged the Ministry of Youth Affairs?
Well, we've gone to the ministry, and we're expecting to conclude our meeting with the ministry in a few minutes from now. I'll be there with the minister. The minister, I must say, is a good young man. He's a receptive young man. He has an open door policy, and we're expecting that by the end of the day, when we have the meeting, they will be able to respond to us positively. But again, one thing I want to bring again to the people of Sierra Leone is that the Minister of Youth, Mohamed Oman Bangura, will be one of the speakers in the program. I was informed about 2 days ago that the minister will be one of the speakers, and he will be receiving an award for his role in promoting young people in Sierra Leone. So I want to believe the government of Sierra Leone will not want to sit back and see a situation where the minister will go alone without the people of Sierra Leone, without the delegates. So we're expecting some positive results from the people of the government of Sierra Leone.
Aside from the government of Sierra Leone, are you currently engaging other agencies or government supporting institutions?
Well, we've done our best. We've gone to several people. I don't want to name names, but we are hoping that by the end of this month, they'll have to get to us quickly and positively.
What's the cost of getting these delegates to Ghana?
The ticket price is $600 for one person. And so when you calculate everything, 600 plus the registration is about $40,000.
What's the registration?
$200 per person.
So that's about $800 per person. And how many Sierra Leoneans?
50 people.
So that's $800 times 50.
That's about
unfortunately, I failed mathematics woefully.
I can help you with that.
Yeah.
It's about $40,000, so it's not too much, and so we're hoping that the government can do that. Because other people have gone. I want to also bring this to you. The delegates from Senegal will be going from Senegal. Their ticket fee and everything have been arranged by the government of Senegal. Liberia, they are also doing the same. And in Sierra Leone, we are also hoping that they will do the same. One thing, the president of Sierra Leone, retired Brigadier Julius Madabio, mentioned that he will consider the young people at the heart of his government and education. So we're hoping that when young people go to gain education, to gain an experience, to come back and develop the country to some extent, then we're hoping that the president will have to respond to us.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Brian. And let me come back to Honorable Emma on the Women's Shadow Parliament. Honorable Emma, you spoke about targeting all the women of Sierra Leone, but through former aspirants for various positions in the country. The Parliament of Sierra Leone has a way, a time, a schedule when it meets and where. With the Women's Shadow Parliament, where, when, and how do you meet?
Well, since we've just launched, We are hoping that we would meet at least once a week or twice in the month, and we are expecting to have our own office. Meanwhile, until we have our own office, we will have somewhere to meet, either in the conference hall or in 50-50 conference room or thereabout. But very soon we will have our own office where we will meet, and our meetings will be open.
How often do you intend to meet?
Initially, once a week. Once a week, where we debate issues of all types relating to women and also national issues. Once a week.
You're targeting all the women of Sierra Leone, and you spoke about the parliament already constituting members who are former aspirants of various parliamentary positions in the country. Is it limited to only those members who would form the debate in the Women's Shadow Parliament, as it is done in our national parliament, or do you have a different way?
No, it's based on the similar principle of the national parliament. We will have our speaker, our deputy speaker. In fact, we will have 4 deputy speakers who represent the other regions. We'll have a sergeant at arms. We'll have the whole paraphernalia of the national parliament. And all issues will be debated, and any issue that involves a woman that is brought to the Women's Shadow Parliament will be debated. And as I said, every bill that goes to Parliament will be debated just as it is done in the National Parliament, and at the expiration of the debate, we'll make our presentation and recommendations to Parliament. And also, whenever Parliament is meeting, we'll be there to observe and learn what's happening so that we will transpose it into our Women's Shadow Parliament.
Thank you very much, Honorable Emma. And let me come back to you, Tony. Your activities in Sierra Leone, what's the time frame? Where would you start and where do you end?
Yeah, we expect to start tomorrow at the IAM Tech school at 11 a.m. And for the next, it kicks off 2 days from now, that is the day after tomorrow at IPAN, that's 3 p.m. And with the third kicks off at FBC, 3 p.m., that's on the 29th on Friday. Then we'll have 2 days break, that's the weekend, and we pick up at the Methodist Boys High School on the 2nd of July. Then we travel to Bo at the Alabama International School on the 3rd of July to do that.
So how do you sync what you're preaching, do not tribalize, but Sierra Leoneize? How do you sync it with your engagement with students rather than political parties?
Very good. We need to start with the grassroots. When you spoke, that's what I look at the point when you spoke about tribalism not being observed in this country like Rwanda that are experiencing genocide. It necessarily doesn't have to do with a genocide or what have you. It could happen possibly in other sectors of national government when it comes to giving jobs to people based on the deed merit process. Perhaps maybe you're fuller and the next person is fuller, so you think that he deserves that. We want to speak this message that people can be able to assume positions of leadership based on the academic pronunciamento. That is somebody who has what it takes, the record charisma of assuming a position. Lecturers in the class will be able to pass students up based on the fact that, okay, we come from the same region, the same tribal line or so she deserves to be promoted or graduate from the university. No. We need an effective and efficient Africa, and the only way we can do that is to start from the grassroots, start to preach the message of peace constantly so that it can be inculcated into the system.
Does the climax of your engagements also cater for the engagement with political parties?
Yeah, on a very serious note, we've spoken to the authorities of the national government. I met the ambassador of this country in Gambia, His Excellency Alaji Suleiman Darame. He's a word of our mission here. I spoke with the Minister of Information, Mohammed Rahman Swari. He's aware, and Deputy Minister of Youth Affairs, that's Alusine Kalon. These people are aware of these things. And we're also aim at meeting stakeholders and the political parties members to be able to understand that despite the different political manifestos or engagement of all of you, there is one common denominator, that is Sierra Leone, and everyone must be able to live and respect that particular dictate.
Thank you very much, Tony. Let me come back to you, Alaji K. Talawali. Speaking of unity in the entertainment sector, there was quite recently an altercation between an artist performing and a DJ that led to the Sierra Leone DJs Union issuing a press release to temporarily put that artist on ban. And there was a whole lot of public bashment coming on the DJs Union for that, including from some members of the entertainment sector. How far is the unity going, especially when, with that regard, something of last week leading up to the conference?
I think that was very unfortunate, on both sides. The way, because it's based on my own personal opinion. I couldn't see a way where the DJ will just wash and just give an absolute ban to a DJ without giving a prior investigation. And it was also wrong on the side of the artist publicly to just eat, on a DJ. It's on both sides. It was wrong. And I think we are having all of those issues because we don't have a national regulating body that will regulate the entertainment industry. And I think that's the main objective why we want to see how we're able to unify the whole entertainment industry together. And Saturday has already been exemplified itself as a day that the whole entertainment industry has already come together. The fact that they've already endorsed a steering committee to facilitate the movement of the entertainment industry.
And it said it's the first annual national consultative. Does this mean it's an event that is expected to hold every year?
Yeah, definitely it's going to be held every year, but we're going to meet with different sectors. As part of our plan is to see how best you're able to mediate cases within those various organizations, and see how best you're able to unify those various organizations that are divided, because our problem we're having is representation. Let's say, for example, we want to have representation from the DJ. If you take someone from Sierra Leone DJs Union, a little say, what about us? So we want to see how best to merge all of this body together. So we'll have one representation. If we want to have representation from Sierra Leone Musician Union, All Star will say, what about us? So we want to see how all of those organizations will come together under one unified umbrella. So I don't know, it's not about individual glory, it's about collective glory.
Did you come up with recommendations to present to the government as they are, as you said, in an agreement to either establish a ministry or a commission for entertainment? Did you come up with recommendations as to how it should function?
No, the recommendation is already there from the government perspective. That is something they are working on assiduously, as I'm saying.
Yeah, but during the consultative conference, yes, did members come up because entertainment is for the entertainers?
Our primary recommendation, let me just make this clear also. The entertainment industry is an independent body. It's a government on its own. We don't rely on government, and we don't want to do anything with government. But in the other way around also, we cannot succeed without...
And if the government is to set up a ministry or a commission, it would be basically there for the benefit and regulation of entertainers. Yeah. So being that the case, during the consultative meeting, did you come up with recommendations to the government as to how the commission or ministry should run?
No, basically we did not come up with a recommendation. Our only recommendation is to urge on the government to implement the National Copyright Act 2011. That is one of our major recommendations that we urge in the government. Anything that has to do with implementation, we're also going to meet again as a steering committee, because we are trying to set up the steering committee to prepare one single document that will represent the whole entertainment industry. That is one of our first steps we're working on, to incorporate all sectors from the entertainment industry. We've already highlighted all of the sectors. We have 12 major sectors in the entertainment industry. So after we'll present our recommendations to the government.
Ambassador Brian, earlier on you spoke about Sierra Leone playing host for next year's International Youth Diplomacy Conference. Tell us more about that.
Next year I will be organizing the program, and in a meeting that I had with some officials of the youth ministry, they were so happy to hear the news, and they have pledged already their support that next year, in fact when we are back from the trip from Ghana, they'll start engaging us in several meetings to ensure that the program becomes a success. But I want to believe also that the government of Sierra Leone will have to support that program fully. That program next year will have 1,000 delegates. 1,000 delegates from more than 30 countries will be coming to Sierra Leone. They'll also be knowing about what Sierra Leone is, how Sierra Leone looks like, because many people have been going with a negative perception of Sierra Leone. So we bring in the conference to give hope to the people of Sierra Leone.
And
to other
Ambassador
people
Brian
to understand that
would make sure
the way
after-
they see Sierra Leone
After
news
this year's
is different.
diplomacy conference in Accra, we'll try to get you in subsequent editions to look at the outcome of the conference for Sierra Leoneans, what the representatives brought back home, and the specifics of Sierra Leone hosting next year's event. Let me quickly send the conversation to our viewers as I read in few text messages. The first texter says, "Thank you, Michael, for bringing such program in Sierra Leone. This country is divided into political lines." Another texter says, "The Shadow Women's Parliament should be able to teach women MPs on parliament and constituency engagement." Another texter says, "Targeting universities in Sierra Leone is in place. They are young minds that will take leadership tomorrow." Another texter says, "The entertainment industry is divided into political lines. How will they succeed?" Another texter says, "In Nigeria, the entertainment industry is viable and contributes to the economy. How will that be replicated in Sierra Leone?" And another person says, "There is need to overhaul the entertainment industry. Too many immatured people." Thank you all for your text messages, and Large K, your response to especially that text message that talks about replicating what entertainment industry does in Nigeria to make it economically viable in Sierra Leone.
I think that's what we're doing presently as I'm speaking, because we're already working toward, because Nigeria entertainment industry is providing 1 million employment for the the employment facility in Nigeria. We have like 23.57% of the country GDP is being represented by the whole entertainment industry. The Nigerian entertainment industry is worth like about $5 billion. Ghana is about $2 billion. Kenya is about $1.1 billion. In Sierra Leone, we cannot even take care of ourselves as an entertainer. Then we're talking about contributing to our GDP. So the entertainment industry is very much viable. We are trying to domesticate what is good, some of the good things that is happening in Nigeria to the Sierra Leone entertainment industry. But that's why we're urging.
You spoke about the political division in entertainment, especially so it was seen during the elections. One sector declaring for APC, another sector declaring for SLPP.
Yeah, I think the politicians are taking advantage of the economic status of our industry because
is
of
it
we
the
are poor.
politicians that are taking advantage, or is it the entertainers who are willingly stepping into politics?
It is the politician. They are taking advantage because of we are poor.
Why didn't then what entertainers do it on their own volition? They were not under pressure.
Just provide us the conducive atmosphere, the legal framework. Give us implement the National Copyright Act for us. Give us the collection society. Provide us the commission that has to do with entertainment industry. Then we should be the one providing, even for the government. In fact, if Nigeria can do it, they're like providing 23.57% to the country GDP. Good luck Jonathan steered the ship. Good luck Jonathan gave about $200 million. You know, they passed about $200 million for the Nigerian entertainment industry. They established a whole academy of entertainment. You know, so the government can also do the same.
Thank you very much, Alhaji Ketayawali and Honorable Emma. For the women of Sierra Leone, hearing of such a parliament raise their hopes. What should be the expectations of the parliament, the Women's Shadow Parliament?
The Women's Shadow Parliament is here to emancipate. In fact, our slogan, our motto is breaking the ceiling. If we want to break the ceiling, we have to look across the spectrum of the country, train women as to how they can participate in governance, how they can be policymakers, how they can how they can break into the ceiling and get and enhance their positions. That is why if we are holding meetings in all the districts, there will be women. It will be open for everybody to see how we operate and how they can learn, and seminars will be held. Advocacies will be made, just so that women would understand their position, that they don't have to be at the back anymore, but they should be.
And how do women countrywide participate or send in their concerns or voice their concerns via the Women's Shadow Parliament?
We are represented in all the districts, and each member would sensitize the women in their areas so that they would bring on their needs and their issues so that these can be debated and then recommendations made. Because there are a number of women's organizations, but ours is the organization that would lift the women from their
Are you
poverty.
recognized by the government of Sierra Leone?
We're fully registered to participate, and we are recognized to operate as a parliament.
Thank you very much, lady and gentlemen, for being a part of the program. You've been watching the Podium on the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. I have been your presenter. I am Phoebe Swiel. My producer is Salmata Ba. Our quote for today says, leaders instill in their people a hope for success and a belief in themselves. Positive leaders empower people to accomplish their goals. Thanks for watching and your text messages. Have a good day. Cheers.